Hello, everyone. Welcome to Damn It, Jim. I'm a tester, not a programmer. So, quickly about myself, my name's Paul Grizzaffi. I'm a QE architect at Cognizant Soft Vision. I spent my career focused on automation. I did a quick little stint over as director of QE at one point, but automation is my real love. I'm an industry advisor to a couple of different organizations, the Advanced Research Center at the Software Testing and Quality Assurance at UT Dallas, and STPCon. And if you want to contact me outside this particular forum to talk about testing, automation, or your favorite Slayer record, here is my contact info, and I'll bust that up again right at the end of the presentation. So, automation needs coding, right? Automation is all about coding. I say it myself. I preach that automation is coding. Because look at all the things we have to worry about. We got the web services and the Java, and look at all these tools and all these things. And if you're not a coder, you're not a programmer, oh, this just looks like hell to everyone, right? So, what do we have now? We have codeless automation to the rescue. And it's not just that we have it now. We've had it back in the before times as well. It just looks different now. It's marketed a bit differently now. It is more mature and has come a long way since the before times. But really, when we just start talking about codeless automation for a large, sustainable, giant automation initiative, we're going to ride the failboat for that, right? Not so fast there, Turbo. There are places that codeless, scriptless, record, playback, drag and drop, all those types of things, right? Those have a place. But note the quotes, because there is always code somewhere. Under the hood, behind the scenes, behind the curtain, there's some code and some coding artifacts that we have to be sensitive to. And the main thing we have to look at when we're talking about these codeless or scriptless approaches to test automation is maintenance. Maintenance is where the cost is over the extended period of time. Be mindful of that recreating. And codeless record and playback, it's got its place and it works well for disposable automation. Hey, something that you're not going to have to maintain. It only has to live for a little while because it's transient in its nature, or what you're working on only needs automation for a little while for whatever reason. It also can be good for places where automation is going to be static. The interface that you're automating against hasn't changed for quite some time, or when it does, it's very small and you won't have to adjust the scripts much, if at all. And so the re-recording cost is going to be low there. There are, however, cases that this can be good for some long-term endeavors where the environment is appropriate for that, just as long as there's sustained value, and that value is larger than the effort yet you're putting into it. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, because I'm a tester, not a programmer. Okay, I personally am a programmer. I just happen to like delivering software solutions to people who really need them, and testers, many of you, you really, really need software solutions to help you be more effective and more efficient at your job, and that's what I love to do. But I'm a tester and not a programmer. I don't want to work with all these tools, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to do that, and I don't have a computer science degree. So why should your so-called lack of a degree or lack of programming experience prevent you from gaining value from applying technology to help you do your job? Because there are other mechanisms outside of record and playback, outside of building Java programs and C# programs and Python programs to exploit the value that machines and technology can help us do our job. There's something called the command line. Many of you may use it today. Many of you may have seen developers or test automation experts use it today. And it's sort of omnipresent. It's pretty much on every type of environment you are going to be testing either from or in. And it's that thing where you type commands and then output comes out and it's all text, and it's very powerful. And I'm going to give you some pointers today on how to use the command line to help you do your testing job. Because the command line has all these wonderful, wonderful commands built in. Many of them are built for file and text processing. There's other stuff too, but we're going to focus on the file and text processing today because they, again, They're not going to do our job for us. They're not going to do our testing job for us. What they're going to do is they're going to potentially help reduce some of the effort that we spend in going through results and identifying potential issues. We can also chain these commands together, so we can take command number 1 and take its output and shove it into command number 2 and process the output via command number 2. And we can include these in other implementations, so we can take these commands and put them in C# programs or Python programs, and you can partner with other people that have different skill sets than you, and together you can build this wonderful, powerful thing that helps you do your job. So we're going to go through a fairly rudimentary example, but just to kind of show you some of the tools that are available to you for text processing on a command line. So our example is going to be, we want to find all the incomplete transactions in a log file that are due to timeout. So here's our example log file. And you say, Paul, there's only, 40 lines here. I can put that in a text editor. I can eyeball this. Yeah, I understand. Think if it was 40,000 lines, though, or 400,000 lines that you had to pull these different types of information out of. The scale changes things. The scale changes it where mechanized help can be valuable to help you do your job. So what we're looking for are logs of this form who have a status of incomplete, and a reason that it's incomplete is due to a timeout. Ooh, we can get so close with just one command line call. So here, we're going to use a command, and this is the Windows command prompt, just the vanilla Microsoft Windows command prompt. I will give you examples for PowerShell and Bash here in a couple of minutes as well, but we're going to go through this first example through Windows command prompt. So why don't we find all of the logs, all of the lines in that file that have incomplete as part of their text? And we get really close. We use this command called find stir, which is short for find string. And it says, hey, find the string incomplete and that file there, C:, blah, 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 file.txt. So it's going to go through every line in that file, and every line that has the word incomplete, it's going to go ahead and print that out for us. But we're only so close. We didn't get everything we wanted. Or actually, we did get everything we wanted, but then we got more, right? We got also a reason canceled. So again, you say, Paul, there's only 4 here. Why can't I just say, cool, I ignore that one and look at the other 3? Again, what if there were 10,000 lines in this output? The scale changes how we think about mechanization. Well, it didn't work when we looked for incomplete. Maybe we should look for timeout. So we do the same thing, but oh, look, we also had timeouts for some other log message, not just incomplete. It's a shame we couldn't put these two things together. Wait a minute, yes we can. So we introduced this concept called pipes. Okay, not those pipes. These pipes, the pipe operator that allow you to chain commands together on a command line. You may have seen this before. It's a vertical bar. It's the key above the backslash on your keyboard. And it's, like I said, a way of chaining commands together. And what it really looks like is Command A, pipe, Command B, pipe, etc., etc., etc. And you can chain these commands, not infinitely, but to a very large extent, you can chain lots of commands together and winnow down and filter all the results that you're working for, or looking for there. And the way we read this is that the result of Command A is an input into Command B. And this is supported on most, if not all, command prompts and shells. I'm trying to think of one that I've worked in that didn't have that. There may have been one, but it's been so long and so few and far between that for most of the environments that most of us are going to work in, we will have this capability at our hands. So, aha, this is the stuff. So notice our command line here. Our command line has changed. What we've done is we've said, hey, call find stir with incomplete. And then we're going to take all those lines that were incomplete, regardless of whether it was timeout or not. And then we're going to pipe the result into another call to find stir, looking for timeout. And then we get the ones that we want and only the ones that we want. Pretty cool, huh? So, I don't know about you, I'm lazy. I like to think I'm the good kind of lazy. Don't ask my wife, she has a different opinion. But what you can do is you could take this and put it in a file and then copy and paste it into the command line every time you want it to run it. That's the kind of stuff we do, right, when we're lazy. Well, instead of doing that, Windows has this capability called batch files. If you've worked on computers a long time or even used computers for a long time, you've probably run some sort of bat file. Run the command.bat or autoexec.bat back from the old DOS and earlier Windows days. A bat file is just a way to put a bunch of stuff in a file and run it. So you'll see here we have the batch file. I called it findincomplete.bat. And I just copy and pasted that command line, the text that I put on the line at the top window, and copied and put it in there. Cool. There we go. Now we can just say find incomplete every time we want to search that log file for incomplete due to timeout. But I generate a new log file every time I run the program. Maybe it has a date timestamp. Maybe it's in another location. Maybe I want to do it on other log files as well. Having that specified specifically there, that's a bit of a limitation for us. So maybe we can be a little more flexible, right? So flexibility in batch files is pretty easy. You can say, hey, I want to take commands, words, if you will, parameters off of the command line into my bat file and then use that as input into the rest of my command. And the way we do that, and I'm not going to go into the specifics of the syntax here, we just don't have time in this forum, is to say %. That says give me everything remaining on the command line and shove it right in this spot here. There are a lot of tutorials and stuff out there. If you go and Google or Bing or whatever and say bat file syntax or something like that, you'll find it. You'll find this and many little tutorials on how to get started in building these types of files. So cool, how do we run it? We specify it on the command line. It becomes like another command. We say, hey, run findincomplete.bat, but the extra bit of power here is we can say, go find all the files in that particular files directory that match this pattern and run it and give me all of the results out of there. Again, pretty cool, right? It's going to save us time. Think about this in scale. And remember, this is also a fairly contrived example just to show a couple of the commands that are available, again, for free at your command line, in your command shells and command prompts. Yes, you could do this in Notepad++ and your favorite IDE, but not everybody is as adept of doing that, right? Not everybody has that skill either. This is another way to help you sort of, again, have a mechanized way to be able to perform some of these activities. So, what did we do? We took some commands and we put them in an order, and then we took those commands that were in an order and we put them in a file, and then we ran that file and got some results. Isn't that a script? Sweet. Isn't that programming? Sweet. You're all programmers now. We're not expert programmers from doing this, right? But what I'm showing you here is there are commands at your fingertips that you can do automation with that are programming adjacent. And if this is something that appeals to you, that motivates you, it might be a good springboard into the next level of learning or automation usage for you. Now, I promised PowerShell and Unix, Linux, and Mac OS, so here we go. We use find_stir in Windows command. For PowerShell, it's a command called select string that works basically the same way. You'll notice some of the parameters are a little different, but the pipe is also respected there. And then in Unix or Linux or Mac OS, the command is called grep. And again, you will notice the pipe is respected there. So some quick takeaways here. Automation is for everyone. You should be able to consume. You should be able to use technology to help you do your job. Programming is not the entry criteria. The willingness to learn and take tools that are available to you or can be available to you and use them to help yourselves be more effective or more efficient. Some of these tools are readily available, but you still have to learn. None of this is free, right? I mean, some of you looked at this and went, holy crap, how am I going to learn all this? Google, Bing, search. There are different learning forums out there that will teach you this basic called shell programming for different types of shells and command prompts. And there's nothing wrong with codeless automation. It gets a bad rap. I've got lots of reasons why I think it gets a bad rap, and I think mostly it's because they're used in places often that they're not appropriate, and then you have a bad time that way. So if you're going to go some sort of codeless record and playback, drag and drop approach, think about the value proposition of creation, but also of maintenance and sustaining over the long term. And a thank you for your time. Here's my contact info again. Feel free to ping, and y'all have a good rest of your day. Thanks.